Hey there YouTube, I have a video coaching review today. This one comes from Andrew. It's his first of many, and I have all of them that will be coming out in the next several days. So it'll be a bit of a mini series and you'll be able to see his form progression over time, which is actually quite neat. Huge thanks to Andrew for letting me use his video coaching review as content on my channel. I believe many archers around the world struggle with the same form flaws and have many of the same questions. So it does help many archers around the world. So again, huge thanks to Andrew. And if you're interested in submitting your own video coaching review or wanting some more information, I will have links in the description below for my website, jkaminski.com. You can check it out there and find out how to submit your own video coaching review. So with that being said, let's start Andrew's first video coaching review. Hey there, Andrew. Thanks for submitting a video coaching review. I'm going to read your email first and then we'll check out your video. So let's see, you started shooting about 4 months ago and took about 10 lessons with a local coach. So anyway, you started archery about 4 months ago and you took 10 lessons with a local coach. You're a fit male. Power yoga, high intensity, mild calisthenics, 30. Oh, great. Excellent. So 5'8", 147, 44, using 28-pound limbs. You can group with a 4 to 6 inch diameter at 30 meters, 10 to 12 at 40, 24 at 70. That's pretty good. You've watched most of all my form series and tried to emulate it. Specifically, you're trying to do these following things. So the stance angle, open, locking knees, hips, and core, pivot point on the grip, locking down the pressure point. Okay, good. Let's see, the full inhale, extend around the bow arm while rotating the body and get into alignment. Good. Good. Okay, that all looks good. Long exhale, rotating the shoulders around your body as you settle down into anchor with a string firm against your nose, lips, and chin. Okay, and once you find your aiming, you continue to release naturally until your scapula can't expand any further. That's good. So you're trying to get the timing of this done before you're fully exhaled, but sometimes it takes a while to get your aim. So something to be considered or concerning or considering here on the breathing is that I don't breathe out continually myself. So I do have a breathing cycle, a breathing shot cycle on my channel. You can just search for that, archery breathing shot cycle, J. Kaminski, you'll find it. And essentially, I breathe in and out before I lift the bow, and then I breathe in as I'm lifting the bow and out slightly during that rotation that you're talking about with the bow arm extending. It's not much of a breath out. On the lift, I'm breathing in maybe 60-ish% of my lung capacity. So I'm into about 60% of full volume-ish, give or take. It's not a lot of air. And then when I breathe out as I am settling into the shot, it's just a small portion of that breath. Maybe if it was 60% of my breath, once I hold after I breathe out, I'm maybe at 50%. So I don't breathe out much of the air that I do have in my lungs, but then I hold it until I get the shot off. I don't continually breathe out. That'll cause movement in the shot, in my opinion. Most archers hold their breath when at full draw. So there's that. So things you're looking for help on. You experimented with a clicker, but your draw length varies by 1/2 inch. So you're looking on how to make that more consistent or ways to train to know that you're at the same draw length. Basically, a big way to do that is to start at blank bail, so that way you're not distracted by the target itself and you can focus on the form exclusively. And it just takes time. Shooting for only 4 months to jump into a clicker is a tall order, but it can be done. It just requires a little bit more practice to get the feel of a consistent draw length. So things that contribute to consistent draw length are primarily the amount of rotation you get, so that has to be the same. Next would be anchor position. Next would be head position, and that's really the three main issues when it comes to actual draw length consistency. So I would start with focusing on those things, trying to make sure those are always the same. I did watch your video briefly, and I noticed a few things with head moving, so we'll address that, and that's probably one of the larger contributing factors to your draw length and consistency. You can also visually check your clicker, the arrow relative to the clicker as you're drawing back, to make sure that you're getting close to the end of the clicker. I discussed that in the Recurve form series, I believe in the loading video, when I talk about visually checking the clicker before I come up into anchor. That should be when I mention that. Usually I'll do that as I draw back. I quick look down at my clicker as I'm coming to full draw before I come up into anchor at that load position. Let's see, so you feel zero strain in your draw arm and feel like you easily could go up and draw weight based on this arm. But your strain is in your bow arm. It's primarily keeping the arm raised. You feel like going up in draw weight would make it easier to keep the bow up. How would I recommend moving up? I'll look at that and let you know. And yeah, I agree. Higher draw weight generally will make the bow feel lighter because it kind of helps hold itself up naturally. When you raise your arms to get into shoulder alignment, you go very high. This is so you can sync with the timing of your deep inhale and give you ample time to get your bow hand into a relaxed state. I'll look at that and let you know, but again, as far as a deep inhale on the lift, I would not do a very deep inhale. I'm not sure if you're trying to do that for any particular reason, or if maybe there was a issue with maybe my delivery of the information in that video, or maybe you haven't seen it yet. Because it's more of just a gentle breathing in. As I lift the bow, it's just a natural breath to a natural lung capacity. I'm not, meaning my normal breath when I'm just sitting here, just breathing normally, I very rarely will go above 50% as far as lung capacity is concerned, just because that's where you live in normal everyday life. So same type of thing when shooting. As I lift the bow, it's just a gentle normal inhale. As I rotate, I exhale ever so slightly, as then I gently draw the air back in as I'm drawing back, and then hold it or breathe out ever so slightly and then hold it once I come to full draw. So I'll check that out and we'll look at the that shoulder alignment thing. After release, your bow stays balanced, pretty much upright. You think it's because you removed weight from your front stabilizer to reduce the strain on the bow shoulder. You quite like the way it feels. However, you notice my bow drops forward and left after release. Is this an issue with the front follow through? Is there a function of the bow? I'll check that out and let you know. And when you went to the archery store that specializes in recurve, they insisted your parallel arrows should have a center shot aligned outward. You took my advice and lined it straight, and the arrows fly much better. Great, good to hear. And they set your nocking point a 1/4 inch above the rest so you can visibly see the arrow pointing down. Parallel on the arrow is for compound. We do need a higher nocking point above center due to we use 3 fingers, 1 above, 2 below, so we're drawing the bow back off center. The only way to know what nocking point you need is to shoot bear shafts and then reference the bear shafts compared to your flet shafts and see how they fly, and then make your nocking point adjustment to make the arrows fly proper. So yeah, it's pretty good for now, and so I'm gonna set this aside and then I will look at your video and see what's going on. So excuse me, I'm assuming, because I already watched this, I'm assuming based on what's going on here, because you and people behind you, after you shoot your shot, you pretty quickly are looking up, and I'm assuming you're looking at a screen or something like that to see where your arrows maybe landed on the target. That's my guess. And it's something very easy that I want you to work on, is to make sure you focus on finishing your shot and do your job first by executing a good shot and then visually looking for the arrow reference. The reason I say that is, watch yourself here. As the shot breaks, you basically kind of finish the shot and then are immediately looking to see where the arrow went. And even outside, you do the same kind of thing, where when the shot breaks, you pretty much are done with the shot and just go to the next one. So it might be of benefit for you after the shot breaks to hold your position a little bit longer. I understand you have a little bit of arm fatigue keeping that bow up, so it's a bit of a challenge, but it would definitely be better if you would finish the shot strong and then let down and then look at the target. Don't be too quick to end the shot and then look to see at your results. because like that, see how that one right there was a very quick ending. Yes, it wasn't a good shot, at least compared to the rest, just based on your body language reaction. See how that one was a little bit more controlled. And now watch this one. As the shot breaks, you'll see you give up on it almost immediately upon release. And so that's just telling me that you have a tendency to just want to end the shot far too soon, far too close to the release, and far too close to letting go of the string. It should be ending the shot is when you run out of range of motion back here, and when you have finished delivering the arrow with equal 50-50 pressure, driving that arrow towards the center upon release. So it's a easy habit to get into, especially when you have cameras like that inside watching what you're shooting, and then you of course want to see the results. But you need to shoot your shot, analyze your shot internally first, then look at the result, and then put the result to the feeling. Whereas if you're shooting and you're immediately looking for the result without analyzing the feeling, you'll never have a relationship between why did that arrow go in the 8 ring versus why did that arrow go in the 10 ring. And that way you'll never have that association, and there will always be a disconnect between a good shot and a bad shot. You won't have that like continuity as far as that's concerned. Hold on one second. Come here, cat. Sorry, she was gonna knock over the computer if I didn't move her. Okay, so that addresses one of the first things. So I'll look at some of the other issues that we talked about. This is a good view for you to see what I'm talking about as far as the head. So for draw length consistency, head position and head control is key. So watch your head as you go to draw the bow back. You can see how you're in a very neutral, natural position with your head just turned, which is perfect. And then as you go to lift the bow, see how you lift the head up like this and tilt it. And then as you're coming up, you're now going to start to lift up even further. And so that head movement is just going to never lend itself to consistency. You have to maintain your head control and not move your head at all. The best shooters in the world will keep their head perfectly still the entire time as they draw back, anchor, aim, execute the shot, release, and follow through. Their head will never move the whole time. It stays perfectly still no matter how many arrows they shoot, no matter what distance they're shooting, no matter anything, their head is always still. It is the best thing that you can do for any technique, any sort of style in shooting and archery, is to keep that head perfectly still. So that lifting of the head up this way as you're lifting is telling me you're lifting with your core, your chest as well, which you can see. Watch your chest here, your shoulders, and your head. And as the head starts to cock back this way, you'll see the whole torso follows. See that? Shoulders lift up and back, and now you're in a very overly stressed position, and that's where most of this shaking is coming from, is that overly lifted position. Keep everything down, keep the shoulders low, lift the arms. You can lift the arms high independent of the body and lift the arms high without lifting the chest and without lifting the head up. I wouldn't recommend the high lift, but it is just one of those things you're doing. So if I were to look at it a little bit more closely and see what kind of action is going on with the lift, maybe I can help isolate what's going on, because you said that it's due to the inhale. And so if you do just a natural inhale and not this deep inhale, you won't have to do this overinflation of the torso and the lungs. Let's see how it looks from here. Same type of thing. You can see that head picking up, and that overly deep breath is causing a lot of those issues. So I would start with eliminating that. Don't breathe so deep. It's only, like I said, a normal breath. It's a normal amount of air in your lungs, maybe a tiny amount more than a normal amount of air in your lungs. And also, it is more of a, let me see this one more time really quick before I formulate that thought. Just more of a gentle, normal breath, and try to make sure you're breathing down with your diaphragm, with your abdomen. You don't want to breathe with your chest. Don't breathe here, breathe down here. Anytime you can, to breathe with your Diaphragm instead of chest breathing is going to be most important, and more important in archery if you can do that. Because if you breathe down here, you won't have to breathe so high up into that chest right there in that movement. That's a breath right there if I've ever seen it. And again, same thing. Here, you're staying down a little better with the chest, but as you take that breath, there's that pop up, and then now the head comes back, and then as you draw, the head picks up, and then it moves back down, and it's continually moving throughout the entire shot, which definitely affects consistency. So work on the breath, breathe more with the abdomen, and don't breathe so deep. Breathe more normal. That'll definitely help. Let's see here. Your overall position once you're at full draw with the bow arm is good at full draw, but based on the way the bow reacts and the way the arm reacts, I can tell that you're strong back here as far as the release is concerned, hitting your maximum length that the scapula can retract, but there's not much going on this front side. You have to make sure that whatever you're pulling with, you have to push with, and I want you to push into the pressure point of the grip and push that pressure point to the target, equal to the amount of force that you're pulling with. If you're naturally right-handed, you may consider pushing a little bit more than you're pulling to balance out the natural inclination of right-handedness wanting to take over. But it is something to experiment with. Again, pushing and pulling equally until you finish the shot. And roughly the amount of time that it would take for this to happen to finish the shot is very equal or very close to equal of the arrow hitting the target at 30 meters. So continue pulling until your scapula cannot move anymore, and continue pushing to balance the pull until the arrow hits at 30 meters. Even if you're shooting blank bail, you have to continue that pull and that push until your arrow would hit 30 meters. If you don't, you're changing the speed and the amount of time that you're executing the shot, and that will dramatically affect the impact of the arrow, especially under pressure, especially in the wind, and when it is actually in a tournament. So trying to do it the same no matter what the distance, no matter the style of shooting, no matter any of the conditions, it's always the same. That will make a big difference. So as far as the lifting of the arms very high, personally, I don't like it. Personally, I'd like it to see much lower, primarily due to injury prevention in this shoulder. And something you may want to consider as well, and you can see just this overexertion that's unnecessary. From this position, you can just lift your arms. Watch my shoulder. I can just lift my arm and see how my shoulder does not elevate as I lift my arm to go to draw back. It stays there. What you got going on is this, where you're engaging the upper trap, the levator scapula, and you're going to do nothing but bunch that muscle up, prevent the scapula from moving, and over time you're going to have headaches and neck soreness. And that's something you really don't want to deal with. So if you see here, see how that shoulder, the first movement is that shoulder going up, and then the hand lifts. And as this goes up, you can see that head cocks to the side, and again, neck issues, neck pain, headaches, all things you don't want to deal with. And then as you're lifting, yes, you're in this position where you're past 90 degrees, so you're protecting that shoulder joint, which is okay. But what I'm seeing, especially from this type of view, is this overexertion. Watch how much you're shaking in this area, in this draw side, as I play this. See this shaking uneasiness? Let me see if I can find a better one. That shaking right there, that unsuredness. Yes, you're new, so this is normal-ish, but you can see there's a lot of that shaking right there because you're got so much tension going on, including in the hand and in the wrist. If you look at this angle here, from this to this, you'll see that the elbow and the wrist, it's broken, meaning in this position, let's see, if I were to go to draw back and had my wrist broken this direction, just mimic it with me just right now. Go into this position, have your wrist straight, and now bend your wrist in and feel the amount of tension. Feel the tension in the hand. If you relax and just hook onto something and just relax, there's no tension at all. I know you say that you feel like you have no tension going on back here, and maybe that's when at full draw. But in this position, you have so much tension, you're shaking because you're in this broken position here with so much force required in the forearm, in the bicep to maintain this, but then also in the hand itself to get into this position. If you were to just hook onto the string, there's a video on that I've got on how to hook the string, several of them. And one of the main things is to look at this angle of the wrist. If you do nothing but hook onto the string and relax everything else, you're going to have a wrist bent in this position where it's actually bent this way, because that's the natural line that this finger will go along the tension direction right here, going towards the elbow, and then this wrist just bends this way naturally. And that's just relaxed. If I straighten my wrist, it requires effort. And then if I do what you're doing and I bend it the other way, now it's lots of tension in the hand, lots of tension in the forearm, and you can see it from that position. Let me see if we can get a view of it here. That's a little better. Let's see. You got a little bit of lean back. That's due to the chest coming up. Yeah, so we can't quite get it, but you can see the wrist bent here, even when almost at full draw. Once you come to full draw, you can see it's still kinked this way. And again, just feel that tension. It's a lot of tension. It's a lot of effort. If you can get it relaxed and just hook onto the string and relax the hand, it's going to be much better. You got to drive more with the arm and the shoulder and the elbow. Don't pull back here. Do not focus on the string. Do not focus on the hand or the wrist. Focus more on the shoulder and pull from back here or pull from here. Pull around and behind you. As you lift the bow, make this do the work. Don't make this do the work. When you make this do the work, that's when this happens. It's a weird thing. It's just human nature to want to use, especially for men, to use more bicep, more forearms, and to control it more, as opposed to just hooking onto the string and letting the body naturally pull it back. Kids are very good at doing that for whatever reason, but adults not so much. So, the bow standing upright upon release. A lot of that has to do with the tension you're keeping potentially in the bow arm and bow hand. You're not releasing tension here at all. It should be pushed as if you didn't have a hand, pushing into that pressure point, and upon the shot, the hand will flop out away from you. So if my hand's here in the grip, as the shot breaks, my hand goes and it flops and kind of pushes the bow that way. So pushing into here is due to not having any tension here. I can tell you've got a lot of tension built up like this, and as the shot breaks, you keep this position, and because of the short length of your finger sling, based on what I can see from this angle, not very much, but what it looks like is that your finger sling's a little on the shorter side, which is keeping that bow vertical, and it's not allowing it to jump out and swing forward. So almost cast the bow away from you, where I'm pushing into the grip, I'm pulling equal to the amount that I'm pushing, and I'm driving that bow to the target, and I'm pushing it all the way until that arrow hits 30 meters. That's what will help the bow rocking and kind of jumping a little bit better for you. So yeah, I think that covers just about everything that you asked about, and a couple of extra things that I saw. Overall, for 4 months, you're looking pretty good. Just try to reduce the amount of overall tension and the overall amount of energy you're expelling. You're spending a lot of time breathing. Normalize that. Use your abdomen, not your chest. Keep the head still. Lift the hands and pull with the elbow or the shoulder, not the hand itself. Keep that shoulder down upon the lift and lift the arms independent of the shoulder. And continue finishing the shot until that arrow hits 30 meters, and equalize amounts of push with the amount of pulling that you're doing, and do that again until the arrow hits the 30-meter bail. and you can also try casting that bow out a little bit further from you. So hopefully this helps. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reply to the email that I'm sending to you. And again, thank you for submitting a video coaching review. This video will be available indefinitely on my channel, so anytime you want to, come back and view it. Thank you again.